Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here in Jew. I very welcome my friends and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. Welcome back to Big Mouth. You can keep this conversation going over on my Twitter at Movies TV Mag. Terminator Dark Fate is no sequel of Terminator 2. They have bastardized the most important character in the Terminator franchise, John Connor. They have picked him up, dipped him in acid, and dissolved him, and instead have taken his importance and given it to a female character. This is what SJWs do. Let me give you another fine example. There's this, I forgot what it's called now. There's this Netflix series called Criminal or whatever it's called, right? And the first episode starred David Tennant. And basically the whole premise of this, and sorry for changing the subject, but this is very, very important. So the premise of this is that basically the police are interviewing a criminal they think's guilty. So they're interrogating him. It's very tense. It's well made. David Tennant's a great actor. He does a great job. It's well written. But basically, they're trying to make you think that they don't have enough on him and they need a confession. So you don't know. He's accused of killing his stepdaughter after having an affair with her. He denies it. He's saying it's the teacher, blah, blah, blah. You're not sure if he's guilty or not. Ultimately, they find some evidence they didn't know about in the files, and it turns out he patches her arm up, and there's some grooves from that kind of wrap, which is in the boot, which he placed her in. So it ends up that he's guilty. Now, in the next story, they're interviewing a woman. Now, this woman is accused of poisoning her sister's boyfriend. So at first she's really, really cocky. She's threatening the police. Then she comes up with this story that she poisoned this guy because he was beating up the sister. So they think they've wrapped it up, but now they start to think that maybe she's lying. So I haven't finished watching this next episode, so it's pretty obvious to me what's going to happen is that she's protecting the sister who obviously poisoned him because she was beating him up. Do you see what they're doing? Because it's a female, they're trying to create a sympathetic story. This is the same industry. These are the same people who probably would call out the Joker movie for sympathizing with a white male suffering with ill mental health. So we go back to Terminator Dark Fate. As I say, they've bastardized John Connor. Now, spoilers ahead. We see him at the start of the film. He's killed by Arnold Schwarzenegger's, excuse the throat, but he's killed by Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator. And that's it for John Connor. Now, obviously, Edward Furlong's not looking great these days, so they had to do some CGI work to make him look young, because this is kind of just after T2. So basically, they kill off John Connor. As I say, the most important character, the character who's the hero, the character that Sarah Connor sacrificed so much in the first two films. They kill him off, and it turns out that actually he's not the important one in this next story, that actually the hero, the future hero that's going to save us all, is a female. See what they do? You see what they do? Storytelling isn't the most important thing to them. Identity politics is. They will destroy anything that we grew up with just so they can make their political point, so they can put across their identity politics. And it's interesting, I've been watching Mr. H reviews. He's been talking about Dark Fate. He's been talking about a lot of things. But it's just so interesting when you watch intelligent people talking about this and how you tear the shreds of what they're trying to do. But then I watched another video with a critic, about a critic called Chris Stuckman, who's also a script writer. He's trying to get something done. And he was told if he could put something in his script about social commentary, there's more chance of being able to sell his story. Wow! It's not about making great movies. It's not about telling great stories. It's just about identity politics. It's about SJWs putting across what they think are the most important issues in this world. But you and I know that identity politics doesn't come anywhere near the problems that people are facing today. People like Arthur Fleck, who is representing, for me, many females, males, people of colour who are suffering with mental health. But that's not important. No, toxic masculinity, a false kind of frame that these people want to talk about. How is that the most important problem facing the world today? But anyway, if you're thinking of going out to watch Terminator Dark Fate and you're excited, because let's be honest, James Cameron and Tim Miller spoke a very good game on The Hollywood Reporter when this film was first announced, that this film had nothing to do with the other Terminator films. Let me be clear here. Terminator 3 is a better film than Dark Fate. Absolutely a much better film. Forget the others, but I like Terminator 3. I think it's quite a good film, actually. Considering they didn't have Linda Hamilton or Edward Furlong back then, they did a pretty good job with that movie. I know a lot of you won't agree with that, but I think it's a better film because at least they were trying to make a film that worked. Maybe it didn't work for you, but they tried. Now it's all about identity politics. So they've taken John Connor, flushed him down the toilet, and replaced his character and the importance of his character to a female. And that's their game. James Cameron was very quick to criticise Gal Gadot's and Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman film. Apparently, because Gal is a 50, 60-year-old woman, what she represents in Wonder Woman isn't important. Now, thankfully, Patty came out and sat him back down very quickly. But I feel that everything that he said was BS. He brought back Linda Hamilton. He could have brought back an older Edward Furlong. We could have done something special. We could have continued the saga. We could have fixed the problems. But there's more to this than just SJW and identity politics. Because I've always said about Terminator, they have a problem with Terminator because really it's just people like us who are interested in Terminator. But they've never seen the error of their ways. Terminator 3, Terminator 4 and Terminator 5, Dark Fate are all the same films. It's people running away and fighting a Terminator in modern times. But we've seen it. We've seen it again and again and again. But this industry don't have any imagination anymore. Not like the people who were making films. And let's face it, Cameron was making films when we grew up. Great films, Titanic, Terminator, Terminator 2, one of the Alien films, right? Was it Aliens? I think. It was the second one, was it? If I remember rightly. But anyway, whichever one it was. So he's a great filmmaker. But now he's just playing Let's Pretend with Avatar. He has no ambition anymore. He's obsessed with his technology. The point is here that you could make a great Terminator series or a great Terminator movie if you base it in the future where rebels are fighting the machines where it's all happened. But no, we can't have that. That's not interesting to these people. So what we've got now is the same thing again and again. And in fact, actually, the Terminator movie with Christian Bale was actually more kind of set within the thing that I've proposed. That's more interesting. But what they've done here, you're just seeing the same thing. And isn't it interesting? These critics, it's a brilliant film. The action's great. They're bigging it up. In fact, they're all saying the same thing. That Terminator Dark Fate is the best film since Terminator 2. So basically what they're saying is, it's not all that, but it's better than the other crap films, aren't they? But they're saying it word for word. It's like they've been told what to say. Now, we're already seeing that the opening box office it's come out in France, the UK, and another country. Is it Germany? I'm not sure. It's made about $12 million so far. Not too good. And it's going to be it's a bit weird why this hasn't been released globally at the same time, which is pretty much the norm. Joker was released all over the world at the same time, right? It's like they don't really want us to keep a track of the global box office. This is how corrupt and untrustworthy Hollywood are. We've seen what's going on with Star Wars. We're seeing what's going on within the industry right now. And as I said on the top of the show, all they're interested in is identity politics. And I think there comes a moment when, as much as you and I are passionate about films and storytelling and TV shows, we may have to walk away, open up our cabinets and watch the stuff we grew up with, because at least that was genuine. At least they wanted to tell a story. And it wasn't about political agenda. It wasn't about identity politics. When you take a character like John Connor, because he happens to have something dangling down his legs, and you dissolve his character and you swap him for a female, you're making a very, very blatant point. Because they don't have the imagination or the intelligence to create brand new characters and franchises for women. Ones where they actually write great female characters. I'd be up for that. All they want to do is take existing properties, take away the men, and put women in their place. How's that going to work? We've seen it with Doctor Who. They're pretty much trying to do that with the new James Bond as well, with a woman of colour being the new 007. Not the new James Bond, but the new 007. You see what they're doing all the time. They're making aggressive points. They're killing the industry, and they're driving the people, us, who put butts on seats. But they don't seem to care about money anymore. They care about identity politics. They want to be politicians. They're creating a gender war. They've started the culture war. And the war goes on. And the more they do this, the more intelligent people will make videos like this. I'm not saying I'm intelligent, by the way. There's better people than me out there doing this thing, and more successful people. I haven't got a successful YouTube channel, let's face it. But I'm just happy making these videos. But in the end, we will give up supporting these films. Because at the end of the day, all Terminator Dark Fate is, let's get rid of the boys and let's bring in the girls.